All right, here we are. We're ready to go, Q.
Oh man,
Q, we've got another great one today, brother. We've got a great one. This friend of mine, Barry Schlouch, we became good buddies. I don't know, golly, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Barry, you might know better than me. And through some, we both are in this thing called the construction. It's a YPO construction roundtable, and it's a global group of construction leaders. And we have a blast. We have an annual event, and in between we talk, and there's forums and all that. But it's leaders of construction businesses globally that continue to learn more and more about their passion. And Barry, when you talk about passion, Barry's name comes to mind for me always. I mean, the guy is just a ball of energy, man. He's a blast to be around, and he's a great leader. Anything Barry gets involved with, he doesn't want to just sit back and just be part of the crowd, man. He wants to get up there and he wants to lead, man. Yeah. This guy's awesome. So I'm proud to have my buddy Barry here. Barry, introduce yourself, baby.
Well, thank you, Gary. We met probably 7, 8 years ago, and we were in a forum together through YPO as well in construction. So I think we share a common denominator of entrepreneurship, passion, and bringing good to the world.
Absolutely. And Q, just tell Barry a little bit about yourself here, quick. That did you look him up at all, or did you discover anything about this guy? Or
one
here to listen?
Yeah, of course I'm always here to listen. But one of the things that intrigued me a lot, Barry, was as I was looking through some of the things that. Some of the successes that you have, and I know from what Gary told me, the construction industry in itself, it's extremely huge. And in the specific in the specific part of the industry you're in, you're like the top 1%. So for us to be talking to somebody who's in the top 1% in this specific industry that yours is in, as far as utilities and concrete and excavating, is that what
excavating?
It's called? Excavating. I'm
learning words. He's a city boy. Remember that, Barry. He's a city boy.
So I think that's pretty awesome. So I'm really excited. I definitely want to know, like, how did you get your start? Barry, like what got you so excited about I guess concrete and construction
and excavating.
I was going to use it. I didn't want to say it wrong again. So what got you so excited about that early age? Because it seems like you and Gary have that same type of passion at a young age. So
yeah, tell us a little bit about the beginnings there, Bear.
Well, so we're located in Southeast PA, small town called Reading. If you ever played Monopoly, Reading Railroad. So it's kind of like a suburb of Philadelphia. And I was blessed. I grew up on a farm. So not everybody has that blessing, but I was blessed with the farm life. So the farm still operates today. My cousin runs a farm. It was my grandparents' farm when I grew up. And so, while people were going to school and doing their thing, I was learning entrepreneurship. I was learning the process of the harvest, from seed to cultivating to harvesting. And I had about 15 seasons of that. At 7 years old, I was on a tractor already, living the dream. So when people say, well, wow, where'd you get your degree in business? I got it from the farm. So by the time I was a senior in high school, I was fully literate at farming, operating equipment, understanding the whole process from tilling the land to planting the seed to cultivating to the harvest. My wife called me the summer of '76, my girlfriend then, but my wife, 42 years today. I had just graduated from high school. I was out a year. I was living the dream on the farm and going to school at night for surveying. I had decided I wanted to pursue a career in surveying because of my uncle. And she said, hey, we're pregnant. So Deb was 17, I was 19. We got married. I was earning $2 an hour on the farm at the time with no benefits. So that wasn't out where we wanted to go. So I got a job in construction with my dad. He was a heavy equipment operator. I joined as a general laborer, worked with him on a big project in Philadelphia, and really was a ditch digger for 2 years, just learning everything about laying pipe, paving, concrete, cement, you name it. I show up and I just work hard in all these different types of processes. And I started going to school at night for the surveying and civil engineering, and I got a job at 21. I was making $8 an hour at this construction job, had benefits, thought I had struck gold, and I wanted to be this. Once when I learned that there's blueprints and plans for everything. I mean, the world is like mathematically calculated, from our properties to where the buildings are located, to the roads, to the sewer lines, to everything inside the building is all designed. And I really had an interest for learning about that. So I worked for a civil engineer for a year. I was 21 years old, was staking out a road, living the dream, staking out this road, and a contractor had gotten the road job and said, hey, I need somebody to show my people how to build this road. I'm like, wow. So he's like, whatever you're earning, I'll double it. So I ended up running that small company for 4.5 years, from 21 to 25. And then at 25 years old, we started straight out of the basement of the house. We capitalized the company with $2,000.
Wow.
And that's 35 years ago. Actually, we're on a 36th year. We've done about $1.3 billion in business since then.
Wow.
And we're ranked the best place to work in PA, and just continue to live the dream. So it's not like I wasn't born in a business family. I wasn't born to be a business person. I wasn't born to start a company. I just showed up every day with a passion, gave it the best at farming, gave it the best at construction labor, gave it the best at surveying, gave it the best at running this other guy's company. And I just give the best I have to what I'm doing today. So
Barry, that you mentioned that the best place to work, and I know how excited you are about that. And we've won some awards there, and those are the best awards you can win, right? When your teammates are excited to come to work every day, and you're building a business where there's opportunity and people are rewarded for their hard work. Tell us about how you got there, because can't believe it started there. I mean, I know when we started our business, it was a pretty rough place to work, like most at the time. Tell us about your what your business looked like when you started, and how you got to where you are today, where you're the best place to work in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So when I started, it was basically Deb, myself, and our first employee is still with us 35 years later. A guy by the name of Steve, who I met at a gas station. He was pumping gas, and I hired him like he was good at pumping gas. We just started like that. And I always say, if you could do one thing, just strive to do great work. Now, nobody starts out doing great work, but I don't care if you're at McDonald's or where you're at. Just try to become the best hamburger flipper you can. And like the other week, I was at Giant Foods, as a grocery store, and I asked the cashier, how you doing? And she looked at her watch and said, I'll be better in 2 hours from now. Yeah. She blew her brand. She blew the company brand. And you think I'm going to hire her? Okay. Yeah. Now she or he at that point, you could show up, you could be the best cashier, you could be friendly to clients, you could say, you could find my name. Hey, Barry, I'd like you to come back in my line next time, because I love to serve our customers. Did you find everything you need? And instead, I'll be better in 2 hours from now. And I never did that on the farm. I never did that in school. I never did that in my business. Never did that anywhere. And I'm not saying I don't have bad days, but at our company, we always wanted to do great work. And that's the culture that we have is, we're in a culture of mastery. Now, when I started, we weren't doing great work. We were doing good work. It's a process of showing up every day, getting a little bit better that day because you learned something that day, and then coming back at it the next day and getting a little bit better. So, we went from doing some good work to great work, and that's how we ended up becoming the best place to work in PA, because we put out great work. So with that, the culture, I had to really transform the culture, because we were a pretty rough crowd to start. I mean, people were yelling and screaming at each other, and pretty hardcore construction culture. It just was that way back then. And so I actually ended up eventually hiring a psychologist, and I brought him into the company for 6 years. And we would meet in groups, and during those groups, we just learn how to talk to each other decent. So we would learn what each other was facing. How do you solve a problem? How do you talk through a problem without yelling and screaming and carrying on? So I give the guy credit, and I was working on myself because I came out of a pretty rough family. My parents were both career alcoholics, and that had a whole lot of stuff to go with that. So I just had to learn how to communicate well, and I took the time to invest in everybody in the company by bringing this person in. We worked 1 week per month on small groups, about 6 years prior to becoming the best place to work.
Awesome. And when you think about that, Barry, how that transition happened, do you feel that the cultural change happened because you from the top enforced this, or do you believe there's a way you did something from the bottom up? Tell us about that. How that when you talk about maybe think about the core values you had initially, if there were any, and what you have today, and how those values are driven across your teams.
Yeah, so I believe culture is a top-down bubble up. So it can't just be top-down. If it doesn't bubble up, the team is embracing it, they don't believe it, and they're not a part of it. But I do think the top-down can jumpstart it, and then the team will bubble it up, and it becomes part of the environment. So I started working on myself, like in my 30s. I just was fed up with the way things were going with my parents. They both finally went through treatment. We have a great place here called Cairn. I'm very supportive of it, Cairn Foundation. It's addiction treatment. So I learned a whole lot when they checked in. They went through the addiction treatment program. I went through the codependency thing. And I'm like, wow, okay, yelling and screaming does not have to be the way that you communicate. So, and I wasn't a yeller and screamer, but I was used to being around yelling and screaming. So Deb and I both went into therapy. We actually worked with this same person that came into the company for 10 years. I would show up in my early 30s. I would show up 3 hours every Saturday. I'd drive from Philadelphia to Baltimore and work on myself for 3 hours with this guy. And I did that for 10 years, and so did Deb. And then we started working together as a couple, and people look at Deb and I, we're married 42 years, like, wow, how can you guys be so in love? Wow, how can you be so in sync with each other? Wow, how can you be so dynamic together? And we worked our tails off on ourselves and as a couple to get there. And we're still working it hard every day. Go ahead.
So Barry, yeah, I mean, and I just got to stop you there because so many of us, and me included, and many of us, I think that hey, when you're in love, and you shouldn't have to work that hard for it, right? Well, actually, as you grow older together in a relationship, you realize you do have to work for it, right? So I mean, that's a great lesson, Barry, for young people and young couples, right? That boy, you got to continue to work for it. If you don't, it's like anything. If you're complacent, things end fast, right?
Exactly. And then what I kind of learned is there's three things in a culture that create a dynamic culture. So, and I've kind of studied this all my life. I'm 61 years old now, and there's three things that I have found. Like, why Steve Billman? He's our first employee. Why is he here 35 years later? Okay, why would somebody dedicate 35 years of their life? And he's very successful. And I found number one is it starts with care. I call it the CTH way, care. Steve needs to know that I genuinely care, that he is cared about at the company, and the company cares about what they do. And you've met people probably that don't care, and that's not a lasting relationship. Matter of fact, you can't wait to get away from them. Mm-hmm. So number one is I'm working every day on inching up the care. I call it the care sniff test. Care either goes up or down every day. So I'm working on inching it up every single day in everything that I do, everywhere I go, whether it's how I treat the person at Giant. So it's an intentional way of living. Mm-hmm. The second thing, if we can get through what I call the care test, we can get to the T, which is trust. People want to know that you're trustworthy. And, the fear is if they make a mistake, what's going to happen? They need to know that you got their back, Maybe they're going to learn from it, and that, we're going to work through this together. And if, trust either goes up or down every day. It never stays the same as well as care. So I'm inching that T up every day with how I react and the action that I take. And if we get through the CT, the care trust, we can get to what I call the pinnacle, okay, which is help. If we're a team, okay, if we're a family, we should be helping one another. Life should get better. It shouldn't get worse by being in a relationship. So I'm inching the help up every day. And I don't ask people, how can I help? That's one of the questions I don't ask. What I do is look for, how can I help them? So when I look at you, Gary, I'm looking for opportunities to help you without asking, and then I insert myself into helping. So too many people go around and say, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? Hey, it's my job is to get to know the person, get to know the company, get to know the family, and look for those opportunities to add value to them. So it's a little bit of a reverse instead of saying, how can I help? I'm actually helping.
Love it. I love it. So you call it the CTH.
Seem like a CTH business model there.
I love it.
Yeah, I call it the CTH way. And that's how we became the number one best place to work in the state of PA. I mean, we're number one out of all companies. So like there's Hershey Foods, there's Harley, Davidson, there's all them, and they were in there. But, this construction company out of Reading, Pennsylvania took the number one slot from Governor Ridge. He was governor at the time. And I would make a case at CTH. So, if you met Steve today, he's thriving. Now, when I go by Steve's office, and he's like 4 offices down from me, I never go by Steve's office and don't say hello. Never. Now, we're 35 years together. You think you get tired of saying hello to each other? Now, I don't say hello. I say Billman good. That's it. I just go by and say, hey, Billman good? And I get, yep, Billman good. Now, there's been times where Billman hasn't been good. And I spin around, go back, and I find out what's going on in Billman's life. Okay? And we address it. So, we don't get people and forget people. Too many companies, they're out to get people and then they forget people. We're connected very deeply.
Yep. Get people and forget people. I think that's common. As you grow and you have hundreds of teammates, right? It's tough to remember them all. But boy, if you can, that's a huge differentiator in leadership for sure.
We do a birthday card for everybody, and Deb hand paints them, and we hand write them. Now, there may be a time when we grow that we can't get all that done, but we have a whole process. HR gets all the cards and the names together for me. Deb makes sure that she's in production of painting enough cards.
That is awesome.
And then we sit down, over breakfast or something, and we hand write, "Dear Gary, happy birthday, all the best, Barry and Deb," and it's a hand painted card. And we love doing it. And when I go visit sometimes employees, and when I've been in their homes, they have these cards framed. They're like in a frame because of the beautiful painting.
It's kind of unfair, Q. When you have a partner, a wife like this, though, right? That's an artist, and she's an artist. She's set us stuff too. It's awesome. I mean, it's kind of unfair, Barry. Not everybody can have a wife that's an artist like yours. Well, not just an artist, but beautiful, supportive, and a leader really like Barry. So that you've got an unfair advantage, dude. So you shouldn't be making so many envious like you will when you explain the values of this woman of yours. But go ahead and talk a little more about her anyway, because I love her.
Well, maybe I'll take the iPad and walk down. I think she's down there catching up on cards from studio painting.
Well, the one thing I would say too, Barry, is as I've studied a lot of business owners, and one thing that I'm realizing specifically with a great culture, those who show a lot of praise and appreciation, and it shows that because a lot of times, not customers, employees, they're not always looking for a lot more money, because a lot of people think money's the reason. A lot of times they just want to be praised and appreciated by the people that they look up to or that they work with. And it seems like you and Deb are extremely good at that. So kudos to you in that regard. I wanted to ask you, in addition to that, because one of the things that excited me as I wanted to talk to you was literally about your way of keeping repeatable customers. And I think specifically as a startup entrepreneur, that's something you look for is retention. How can I not only retain my bottom line, but how can I keep my customers happy and keep them coming back? And for you to have over 60% of your customers coming back every single year, that's amazing. How? Like, that's a good question.
In this industry, especially.
And in the industry that you, because you've even told me how difficult it can do to do that. So how did you all do that? I'm pretty sure the CTH way has been implemented and intricate and it's all integrated within it. But are there any things that you've done to make sure that happens?
So we are on a mission of mastery. So I study the construction industry. I'm constantly, and so is our team. I mean, we are learners. I mean, leaders are learners. And so we're mastering, what we do. So if you've ever been to the Apple store, there's like a genius bar. Okay. Our estimators and project managers are the genius bar for our clients. Okay. And it's exactly what they do. What they do in the genius bar is they manage our clients' risk. Okay. There's a lot of risks to build these projects. Okay. They've got budgets, they've got financing, they've got, depending what the use is going to be, they're going to lease it or they're going to rent it, or they're going to live in it. Money is tight. It doesn't grow on trees. So we are very good at managing their risk. We're the partner to be their risk manager. And we have the resources. So we have our own in-house civil engineering, so that it can be designed and entitled. The estimator really provides a really tight, complete budget, okay, with the best applicable methods. Okay, there's a lot of ways to do construction, but what's the most productive method so that we're competitive? And then at the end of the day, we're protecting their budget. We're not fighting against their budget. We're protecting their budget. So if they're successful with their project, they're coming back every time. That's what it boils down to. So we have an external genius bar that for the clients to manage the risk. And then internally, we have a genius bar to advance the careers of our team. So, our people want to get ahead. They want to take care of their family. It's a good feeling when you're advancing. And I track every year how many advancements we have. I want to see a lot of advancements through our company. So if you take capitalism in its best form, I wrote this formula, S1 plus S2 plus V equals GP. And that's what I call heart-led capitalism. S1 is skills. It's a word. Everything starts with a skill. Okay, we all start entry. From the time we're born, we learn how to crawl, we learn how to walk eventually, we learn how to run. It's like anything else, whether you operating equipment, you're running a company, whatever you're doing, we all start entry. How do we get them from entry to advanced? Because when they move from entry, they go to intermediate and then they go to advanced. Okay, we want to accelerate that process. So there's a lot of things that come into play. It takes some experience, it takes some mentoring, it takes some formal education and training, but we want to move them as rapidly from entry to advanced as possible. So I would put our company up against any construction company in the world that we have the best laid out job descriptions. So we have the skills all laid out. What's an advanced equipment operator look like? What's an advanced project manager? What's an advanced labor? Okay, what's an advanced anybody? Okay, because then when you have the skill base laid out, you can plug them in. They're one of three. They're either entry, they're either intermediate, or they're either advanced. They're one of the three. Okay, and we plug them in, and then we can plug in a training program and a mentoring program to what I call upskill. So as skills increase, we get to the second S in the formula of capitalism, service. Okay, the only way service can increase is by skills increasing. So if we want to have better service in Rabine, or Rabine wants to have better service in Schlouch, it all boils down to the skills of our people. So we want to increase the skills, we then increase the service. Now we're affecting the clients too. Okay. Then we get to the third part of capitalism, which is called the V, value. So, the value is what's paid for the service. Okay. And the service is created by the skill base. So if you want to get paid more money, you need to have better skills and better service. So it's a beautiful thing in capitalism because it works perfectly. We want to increase our value. we increase our service. The only way to do it is increase the skills. So if we want to grow our company, what are we doing? We grow our skills first, then we grow our service, then we grow our value. That equals 60% repeat clients because they love great service and they're willing to pay for it. I mean, anybody that gets great service, if you talk about where they get great service, they don't have a problem paying for that. It's, where do you find great service?
That's good. Nate, say that equation one more time so our listeners can hear that.
S1 is skills. I write a formula, S1 plus S2 plus V equals GP. So S1 is the skills, plus S2 is a service, plus V is value, equals GP. Now, most people guess at a gross profit. It's greater potential.
Oh, that's awesome.
The beautiful thing about capitalism is it's infinite. You never can become the best because the best becomes better, okay? There's no ceiling on capitalism, and that's why it thrives. Because it's all about getting better, better, better. So greater potential is the end result of the formula, and that's infinite.
That is awesome, Barry. Oh my gosh, my mind over here is blown. You're dropping these golden nuggets as you talk. This is amazing. I didn't know they had that over there at PA. I didn't know they had that in Pennsylvania. I thought it was only in Chicago over here, but this is legit.
I give the college students the credit for it and the high school students because they want a piece of the action. And how do you tell them? And it finally, about 5-10 years ago, I came up with this formula, and it's pretty simple. And I said, okay, here you go. And they can follow that. I had students come out of 4-year degrees and say, I learned more from you in an hour than I learned in 4 years in school.
Well, Barry, hey, and you continue to do this. You continually educate. You're a very transparent guy. You're always educating other business leaders, entrepreneurs, people in construction. Tell us about you wrote a book, Excellence in Construction. What was the reason for writing that book, and what does all this stuff give you that you wouldn't have otherwise? Being a writer of your own book, being a motivational speaker. I mean, you're just giving all the time, dude. Some people are afraid to give all the information you give, and to think that competition is going to catch up. People around me are going to take my market share, right? I've never seen any indication of that mentality in your head. Tell me about that.
Well, I wrote the book in 2008. It's actually on Amazon. It's called Excellence in Construction. And I wrote that for the 8 million construction worker because you're looking at a farm boy, average high school, got married at 19 and 17 with our little boy, okay, who's now 41 years old. And, there's nothing special about me, okay? And I just wanted to let the people know that because if a farm boy with a C average can do it, anybody can do it. Anybody can do what Barry did. So the book is just kind of a simple 26-page guide, 2-page chapters that, could help somebody simply take it through. I didn't want to do like a 250-page book like everybody else does or a 400-page book. This is 26 pages, 2-page chapters.
So you want to make sure guys like Gary Rabine could read it within a month. Within a month.
Well, guys like Barry, I wanted something I could read. Yeah. So, when you talk about legacy, I'm not going to be a person given from the grave. I think when you're in the grave, hopefully you're in heaven and you're given that way. But I think the time to give is when you're alive. Okay, like the legacy you create is when you're alive. So my legacy is basically what can I do to empower my family, the people in our company, and anybody I touch to empower them so that they can succeed on their own and become self-sufficient on their own and thrive on their own. I don't want to be a person like, what would Barry do? I want to empower these people because they all have the faculties to become great. And if they simply do the S1 skills and grow their skills, S2 is going to grow, which is their service. The V is going to increase, which is value, and they're going to be on their pathway for greater potential.
Awesome.
So that's the model that I'm building for legacy. Let's do it while we're living.
Well, let me say, I got to interrupt you 1 second. You said, nothing special about Barry, nothing special about me. Well, you know what? I got to call bullshit on that, buddy, because again, $2 an hour farm boy as a young kid, right? C student, to be where you are today, and to have amassed the success you have is an amazing story. And so, what's special about you, Barry, is that you're an example of anybody can do this. Anybody can grab a hold of this American dream, right? This entrepreneurial dream if they go after it, right? I mean, you say nothing special about Barry, but boy, there's a lot of special stuff about you, dude, and everybody that knows you knows that. But what's special about you is you don't think that, right? So you've never had that pride, crazy, stupid pride, and you're always going to be able to motivate. So that's why we're excited to have you on here on the show, because you're going to motivate a lot of people, and I love it. When you think about your mentors, Barry, how'd you get to where you're at? I mean, you must have seen somebody ahead of you that acquired some success and was passionate about something, that built something. Where'd you get this vision to be able to do what you did, and where are you going to get the vision for tomorrow? Tell me about that.
Well, I was blessed with amazing mentors, and they're all around us. We all have them. It's a matter of being open to them. So my uncle was kind of like the farm foreperson, say, for my grandfather. My grandfather was a political guy, so he had political appointments, and he wasn't on the farm as much as we were. He owned a farm, and he would come at night and help and weekends. So my uncle, I'll tell you, he grinded it out every day. He was the hands-on ditch digger, David, and he's the one that taught me how to turn the key on in the tractor and everything. And we were in the fields together all the time. And he's still farming. My cousin now runs a farm, but my uncle took the farm over. And I've tried to thank him. Like, he doesn't think he's special either. And I've tried to thank him, and he's not very good at compliment. And well, that's just what we do. And he's now late 70s, tough as nails, out there throwing hay bales, just like we would. And then when I met my wife, that definitely, Deb has always been a mentor for me. When I met her, she would teach me how to spell words and like how to type. Still today, when I don't understand something, I ask Deb, what does that mean? And she is such a deep soul. You know her, Gary.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. She's amazing.
She is like the heart of our family, and she's so inspiring. And then I met this guy, Dwight, when I was running this small company for 4.5 years. We didn't do our own asphalt paving. We would sub it. And I was subbing paving to Dwight, and I was like 21 to 24 then. And Dwight's like, he was a successful professional engineer, had his own paving company in business 25 years, and straight out of Texas, had the cowboy hat on, the belt buckle, the boots, looked good every day, had this deep Texan voice. And he called me Burry.
Burry.
What he would say, Burry. And one day he said to me, Burry, he said, you should start your own company. And now, when he said that to me, I was 24 years old. Nobody had ever said that to me. Farm boy, C average, never groomed for like some type of leadership position or anything like that. And he's like, you're really good at it, Burry. And he kept saying it to me like, Burry, you're good at it. And then one day he said to me, Burry, you should start your own company. And I looked at him, and I didn't even know he was talking to me the first time he said it. I looked behind me like, who are you talking to? And then Dwight said, look, if you want to start your own company, because I didn't know how to do a business plan. I had a house mortgage. We had a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old when we started. We didn't have money.
Wow.
We had a dream. And so Dwight signed personally. He went to the bank with me, helped me lay out the pro forma. We got a $50,000 line of credit for working capital. He's like, hey, you're going to have to pay the people before, you get paid by the client. We got to get a backhoe, a couple of things. So we had a $50,000 equipment line of credit, and he signed personally so I could get the loan.
That's awesome. Now that's a real mentor right there, huh, Q?
Man.
Holy cow.
Man.
I spoke at his wife asked me to speak at his funeral about 3 years ago. It was beautiful, and I wrote a poem about Dwight and a story that I have on my wall. When you come in my office, you want to talk about a mentor, Gary? Next time you come in my office, you'll see this poem I wrote about Dwight.
Wow.
see this cowboy hat hanging on like a horseshoe. And when I was down, his wife, Bobby, said, please take one of his hats. I'm like, no. And she's like, please take one of his hats. So I have his cowboy hat hanging inside my door, and I look at that.
That's awesome.
The best part about the mentor story with Dwight is I get to physically be part of a piece of him every day. His son works at our company.
Oh, that is awesome.
Oh, neat.
His son, Glenn, runs our paving division, just a super young guy. Been with me 12 years.
That's awesome.
That is crazy.
And so when you think about you as a mentor, Barry, and I'm telling you, I know a few people already, in my mind that look upon Barry as a mentor. Barry, what do you want to be looked upon as a mentor? Or when you think about the time you spend mentoring people, whether it's just off the cuff here or there, or it's actually structured mentorship, what's the results you'd like to see out of the mentorship you give?
So we are like all in on training. I would say on average we put 4 times the investment in training that the average company does in our type of field. So if you would have come to our company last week, you would have been like, wow. We had like 100 operators through last week. We had simulator training going on. We are all in, Gary, all in. Okay, like when people come to me and say, hey, how can I get better? I said, triple down. Whatever your budget is, take it times 3 for training and start training more. They look at me like, well, I don't have the money. I said, well, you can't afford not to do it. So find the money to do it. So we are very much committed to this skills, service, value model. And it all begins with taking a person at entry, believing in them, like Dwight did with me. Hey, you can do it. You can become good at it. I'm here for you. Continually sprinkle them with education and skills, put them in the field with good mentors. We have like 8 certified operator mentors in our company. These are working operators that have taken on the role of formally mentoring people, like the time, they have the competency, they communicate well, and it's going. Not just talking office training, but I'm talking real field mentoring, that you take the time with a person, what they need throughout the day, and you make sure that they have what they need, because about 80% of the learning really comes through the hands-on experience. About 20% comes through the formal training. So they've got to get that we've got to get this mentoring down very well while we're in the field as well as in the office. So that's what I'm doing. I'm tripling down myself on it. The last part about mentoring, and I'm on a new experiment with mentoring. It's called grandparenting. So I'm a grandpa. So I personally have chased 1 day per week. Okay, now that's a commitment. And I'm talking about, and I've done it like 12 weeks after he was born. Stacy took 12 weeks to be with him. She works at her company, my daughter. She's a rock star, entrepreneur, project manager. She knows how to run equipment, lay pipe, you name it. But anyway, so I have him 1 day a week. And like last week, I knew this training was going on. Pop and Chase show up. We're in there. We're on the simulator. This little boy's on my lap, like on this chair. I'll send you a photo, Gary. And I'm telling you, he's 1 year old. And we were on a CAT simulator for a CAT articulated truck. And, it's live, so you got the screen going in front. You're driving through, the job site. You've got your shifter over here. You got your foot pedals and the steering wheel. That little boy was latched to that steering wheel.
Wow.
He had it, showed him where the shifter was. And I'm talking him through what we're doing. And he knows the buttons, he already knows the buttons. So, that's the kind of thing. I have him a little CAT backhoe, a little CAT tractor I bought him. It's, like that little Tesla that you got.
Yeah.
It's a little, has a little battery in. He knows how to operate the bucket and the boom. He knows how to turn the thing on. Now I have to press the foot pedal for him. But, that's kind of what I'm working on. Like, wow, like a 1 year old right now.
Yeah.
And I believe how smart they are, from the time they're born. And I think too many times we take it for granted. The children get maybe put in daycare because they have to. But I'm really on this project with our grandson right now, wow, this is where I can make my mark. This is where I'm going to create my legacy. I'm hoping that this little boy, when he's my age, says, I love my pop, and I think about what I did with my pop, and that's kind of where I'm headed.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm experiencing the same stuff with my 3-year-old grandson Lincoln, and got another one on the way here on my birthday in April is due. Trying to talk him into cesarean so it comes for sure on my birthday, but that's probably not going to happen. But either,
my point is, if you can learn to mentor a 1-year-old, you can get some at mentoring adults.
Absolutely.
This little boy, like too many times I was multitasking. I can't multitask with this little boy, so I'm a better listener. I'm more in the moment. Phone goes off, that kind of stuff. He's really teaching me, adult skills of leadership and true mentoring.
That's awesome. So Barry, think about when you look at your past. I mean, there's been tough times, and we always like to talk about the tough times to prepare entrepreneurs that listen to our show on, hey, there's going to be tough times. You got to be ready for them. If you're not ready for them, you crash and burn. If you're ready for them, you expect them, you get through them. And so when you think about your tough times, Barry, in your business over the last 30 some years, right? The 2008, 9, 10 wasn't easy for anybody in our industry. I know there's other times as well. Can you talk about one or two of those?
Well, I don't like to use the word failures, but really I've had so many failures, that, we could talk an hour just on. Matter of fact, I did a program one time called Failing Forward, where I just took like 7 big ones that I've been through, and it's kind of like a ball. The harder, like a failure, when you really hit hard like a ball, the bounce is bigger. So you get a bigger bounce from these bigger failures. And I found that my biggest bounces have come from the failures. So at the time, it's like, oh my God, like you hit and it's bad. And I'm a 2-time cancer graduate. So I had prostate cancer back in 2005 and bladder in 2018. And, when it hits you, like when you're sitting there and the doc comes in and says you have cancer, you're like, oh man, what's the next question? How long do I have to live? But, I got so much better through that of learning about how to take care of myself. Like one of the things that I've been really good at is taking care of everybody else but myself. Okay. Like, you got to exercise, you got to eat, you got to emotionally stay healthy. You got to stay connected. You got to take time with your family. You got to take time for yourself. So sometimes you have to be careful about giving too much of yourself away. And I really believe in the old saying, when you get on the plane, you got to put the oxygen mask on first, because if the plane goes down and you're dead or you don't have oxygen, you can't really help anybody else around you.
Right.
And I've learned through my personal challenges to put the oxygen mask on and take care of myself. So I'm eating much better as a result of these two experiences with cancer. I've learned a lot about life. Faith. Faith is very important. And just becoming more of a whole person. And I'm much better as a result of the 2 episodes with cancer. It's one of those things you don't want anybody to get, but if you do get it, you face it, you deal with it, and you get better. On the business side, the worst day of my life was December 30th, 1985. There was an accident on a job site where it was a fatality, a guy by the name of Mike. And if I could write myself a letter back when I started the company on March 3rd, 1983, and if I could write myself a letter, I would say get OSHA, go right through the OSHA 30, become STST certified, that's board certified safety. Back in that day, matter of fact, OSHA was just started in like the 70s. So in the 80s, it was pretty early, but the accident was preventable, which most accidents are preventable. And I'll never forget, this young, he was 21 years old, Mike, went out to do his job, didn't go home that day. I actually ended up going to the house that night, knocked on the door to Julie. They were going to get married, his girlfriend, and told Julie that Mike was killed that day. So, like when I see movies with the military movies and guys going to the door and knocking, and somebody got maybe killed at war, I think about that day I knocked at the door with Mike's family, and and then going through the funeral and things. And OSHA said to me, like, we have probably one of the safest places in the U.S. and OSHA is studying us. And Scott Chimando from OSHA came to me one day, so like, what did you do? What did you do to create this kind of environment? I said, Scott, Mike, I'm doing it for Mike. This is my gift to Mike. I can't bring Mike back, but
wow.
I can make an impact to everybody else because so many people die on construction sites, even today. Yep. So that's one of my missions, is to give that gift back, pay that forward, because I can't bring Mike back, but what I can bring is a safe work environment to our people. And Gary, as you know, I did a safety moment at the construction roundtable in Chicago. We started off that day with a safety moment. Well, what's a safety moment? I showed the people where the defibrillator was. We talked about how to get out of the building in the event of a fire. We made sure there were people in the room for CPR first aid if anybody's heart stopped that day. So, that was Mike speaking through me. You didn't know that, but that was actually Mike speaking through me.
Wow, that's awesome, Barry. And we can work our butts off and build these great teams and serve these customers and create all this opportunity, but none of it's worth it when a life is lost. And like you seem to use every tough experience you use as a gain. And as tough as it is for Mike's family. In our industries, as dangerous as they are, as much revenue as you've done this industry, there's a good chance somebody else could have lost their life over this time, and you've taken this lesson to a whole nother level. So good job.
I got to tell you, I was ready to quit. It was a tough time. I was ready to quit, and that Steve Billman, the guy I was telling you about, and this is a member of a team. I couldn't go back to the job site. I just couldn't. Okay, Steve did. Steve actually finished that job.
Wow.
Sometimes you need to, it's the team that can lift you up when you feel like you can't go anymore. And I felt it when I couldn't go anymore. And thanks to Steve, he was there. I could lean on him, and here we are. And what a shame to quit. I could have quit. I felt I had every reason to quit at that point.
Well, what a shame to quit, because guess what? If you would have quit, think of the billion dollars plus in work you've done since then, and the potential deaths that could have occurred in that amount of work over that amount of time that didn't happen, and the safety that's happened in that over $1 billion of the work, the safety precedent that's been set in your organization that might not have been set with those companies that took the space that you might have had as a void, right? So I mean, if you look at it that way, great, things like this happen for a reason. You're taking it to another level, buddy. So thanks. So Barry, when you had your vision originally, did you think you'd be this big of an organization? And people, did anybody ever tell you were nuts along the way when you had this vision of a larger organization? Come on, Barry, you're a C student, dude. You didn't go to college, no education. You know what? Your wife's working with you on your spelling, and you really expect to slay this thing? Are you nuts? Have you had anybody tell you that?
Well, of course, but I never would have imagined this back when I, was 25 years old. I just was trying to make sure, that we got a job that day, trying to make sure that we got the job done right that day, and just doing my thing, Gary. I mean, you just do your thing, and trying to get a little better at what we were doing. So no, I would have never envisioned this, but this is how life is. I mean, life is an adventure, life's a mystery, but I can tell you one thing: when you show up and you give it your best, and you listen to what life is doing that day and get a little better tomorrow, this is possible for anybody.
I'm glad you said that, Barry. Because like I said, there's so many different type of listeners that we have. Of course, we have a lot of the amazing, even mentors that we have that are peers like yours, and then we have people like me and that are out here grinding it right now today. What will probably be one of the biggest things, or one of the best mindsets that you can give for the early entrepreneur, the startup entrepreneur, the one who has a lot of the grit, the one who's heard that you're crazy like you did back in the day? What would probably be one of the things that you would say to us currently right now where, hey, listen, in this day and age, make sure that you have this and that, whatever that is that Barry has, so we can get to that next phase, so we can be like you and leaving a legacy?
So, number one is start where you are. Okay. Just start where you are. If you're a cashier, become the best cashier. If you're doing what you're doing, be the best at, mentoring. So start where you're at and just find out what great work would look like where you're at. What would a great cashier look like, or a great whatever labor, or great whatever you're doing. And, just show up and give it your best and keep getting better. Besides, starting where you're at and getting great at what you're doing, whatever that is, because somebody will see it. Gary will see it, I'll see it, and we're going to grab you. Dwight grabbed me, my mentor. He's seen it and, he acted on it. I mean, it's so special when you find somebody that's trying to do their best. I mean, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, how about it, Gary?
Yeah.
Just spotting them out. You will be seen. But then second, after giving it your best and, where you're at, is find the purpose in what you're doing. I've always been able to find the purpose in what I'm doing. So, when I was farming, I really felt good because farming feeds families. I mean, putting the seed in is one thing and doing the work, and it's hard work. But, hey, we're feeding the world is what we're doing by farming, feeding the world. How cool is that? Now, construction, I always look at, like we aren't putting sewer lines in, we're preventing pollution. We're not putting water lines in. We're bringing life to people's homes and environments. Water sustains life. We're not like we do new turf athletic fields are really cool. And when I go in there to the board or the school, I say, we're not just building a turf field, we're building character. Can you imagine the character that's going to get built on these fields that we're doing?
That's really good.
You notice how I'm tuned in. So construction isn't just construction. Construction advances and enhances civilization. I mean, it provides homes to comfort families, work environments to make a living, roads to connect. I mean, we're connected because of us, Gary, because of the roads we put in and airports and infrastructure. So I always say in 100 years from now, I think our company's going to be here. Facebook may not, because I think in 100 years from now, you don't have to like a post to live. You don't actually have to.
I like that.
But I think in 100 years from now, we're going to need some environment to live in.
Still going to need some water.
And I think we're still going to be eating 100 years from now. So that's why I love farming and construction so much, because 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now, hopefully we'll still have these living environments and we'll be eating. So how can you not get excited about that?
But and I love it, Barry, and I've always loved this about you, buddy. You have a passion. Anything you're going to do, spend any time doing, you're passionate about it. Every day of your life, you live with passion. And you mentioned it before, the cashier and all that, and we have hired many people from Home Depot, and Home Depot is my customer today. And they when you see somebody at Home Depot serving you and ask you, hey man, how can I help you? And you're there, you got a project going on at the house, and you're there 10 days in a month, and you run into the same person 5-6 times asking, how can I help you? How can I help you? And they know their stuff. Boy, that's a person you want on your team. You can see the passion in them, right? When you're at a restaurant and you see that busboy or busgirl or waiter, waitress, right, waiting on you and serving you with passion in a tough job, boy, you that's the type of person you want on your team, right? Because if you can serve at that level and strive to be great at that level, boy, they're going to strive to be great at anything they do. And so that's the type of people that we always want to surround ourselves with. And I think, and as you said, anything you do in your life, boy, if you seek out the best of the best to be mentored by, and you want to you want to be world class at it, whatever that is, you'll do well, right? So that's just such an awesome point. What else you got here, Q? What else are you thinking we got to get out of this guy before we're done with him? He is a wealth of awesome information, isn't he? But what else are we missing? Anything you can think of right now?
Well, I mean, it kind of go back to another thing that I'm at least thinking of from a business perspective. But I really want to ask you a lot more. You're just a ball of quality mindset, man. And I probably want to try to get some one-on-one time when you come back to Chicago, at least, so I can see you in person from a personal vendetta or a personal, just for me to be transparent with you. However, we have listeners. So one of the things I'm thinking about though is, I think you're also not think, but I think from what Gary told me, competitive pricing is something that's extremely important for a lot of people. How do you promote yourself? One of the things that True Mentors is, we look at the 5 reasons why we exist. And I guess, as you said, our purpose in doing what we do, and what we notice is what problem we're looking to solve. And one of the things that we know most startups have is an issue with competing in the industry that they're in. Well, pricing properly is extremely important, and it seems like you do that extremely well. How?
Doing great work. So let me just take an advanced operator from an entry operator. There could be 100% difference in productivity. Okay. So even though we're compensating the advanced operator a lot more than the entry operator, the productivity offsets that so much. So when you take your skills up, service up, value up, it's happening because you're so much more efficient. So our costs are actually lower with advanced, competent people than they are with entry people. So, we're back to you got to be great at what you do. So, and when you're part of being great is you're very efficient, extremely efficient, and that lowers your costs.
Absolutely, and it's like you said, it's training and mentoring people to get them to that level and a consistent basis. Because if you're not doing that, you're competing with underdeveloped labor, underdeveloped skills, and that gets tough, right? Then it gets tough to compete. When you think about your business, Barry, and growing this thing in rural Pennsylvania and everything you've done. To grow this large business, how do you look at the American free enterprise system in allowing you to do that? What do is there anything you can think that could be better than this system that you and I have grown our businesses in?
Well, I love capitalism and entrepreneurship, so I'm just I'm just in love with it. So thank God I've traveled. So I've been to Cuba, I've been to Greece. Greece has been around forever, but it's such an entitled culture, and like Cuba, Cuba has free education, they have free everything, free healthcare. Nobody goes to work. You go to Cuba and there's weeds growing up through the scaffolding, and what they've lost is the pride of ownership, the pride of earning things. So I have found that people that earn things value them much greater than people that are given. I paid my way through school, and if somebody would have paid school for me, I would have never gotten what I got out of it because, hey, I was working during the day and then going to school at night. And I remember the people the parents were paying for their school, and I could tell they weren't paying attention. They were thinking about where they're going for the party. I had to go home that night because I had a 1-year-old. My wife, we had a 1-year-old at the time, and I had to get up at 6 to get to the job site at 8 so that I could earn that living and then go back to school at night. And then I worked the farm on the weekend because the farm on the weekend paid for my college courses because I didn't have enough money left over from my job in construction. So it's beautiful. Capitalism is beautiful. I think it's misrepresented. I think a lot of people don't understand it. There are some bad companies out there, don't get me wrong, but it is a beautiful thing, and it works when you learn how to work it. So I am I put my hands together and I say amen for the USA. And I'm just grateful that I'm here, and I'm just grateful that we have these opportunities that where the sky's the limit.
And if you're the problem we see sometimes is we're born here. We don't understand that this isn't everywhere, right? We don't understand that this is the beacon of free enterprise, and there's other countries that strive to be like us, but there's not many that have done this successfully. So I think in traveling like you have, right, and I've been able to do that in the last 15 years of my life a little bit. You really see the difference, and boy, I'm always happy to be home when I'm back on this turf.
Yeah, and these countries are completely broke. It's awful. I mean, Cuba's opening up because they're broker than broke. I mean, they can't, they don't have any farming. They have no agriculture. It's very sad when you go there. And it's 50 years of doing this because of the culture that they've created there. And, it's really awful when you go there to see what happened to that country.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's a country.
Lots of examples of that, right? I mean, when you look at Greece and Venezuela lately in the last 20 years, is from the richest per capita to one of the poorest now. I mean, again, all we can do is continue to embrace this free enterprise society and keep talking about it with the love in our hearts that we have, Bear.
Amen.
What else you got for us, Q?
Man, I got some Quentin's true takeaways, and I got some takeaways today from Barry, you guys. One of the biggest things, and I guess I'll start off with how you started and you continually implemented it in my brain, Barry, which is if you can do one thing, strive to do great work. And it is a testament to what you've already created. And I loved even what you said, the CTH way, care. You got to care about your people and trust and help. And the fact that you don't ask, how can I help you? You look for how you can help people, And I think even another thing you said when it comes to hiring people, don't get people, then forget people. Like y'all, you're like a rapper, Barry. That's pretty awesome, But even more importantly, your equation of not and it's implemented in your whole culture, man. Skills plus service plus value equals greater potential. That's huge. And then a little bit about your life. That was an amazing takeaway. You get a bigger bounce with a bigger failure. And more importantly, find the purpose in what you're doing, you guys. Because when you find your purpose, honestly, you don't go to bed tired. You go to bed empty. And it's good to see that with you, Barry. But more importantly, one of the biggest true takeaways for me is the word is excavating. The word, So, and did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay, I said it right at that time. So, anyway, in addition to that, you talk about leaving a legacy is creating it when you're alive, and Barry, I see it in you, and I see it in what you're doing, and I'm just so thankful and appreciative of Gary for you giving me the chance to meet you, and I can't wait for more times to build more rapport with you, my friend.
Barry, your story is going to inspire many, man. That's our goal here. Inspire many people to say, man, I can do it. Barry can do it with amazing attitude and the energy he has. Barry can do it. I can do that.
That's right.
I want more people saying that, Barry. And I know the more people that meet you, there's more people saying it. But we want millions of people to hear my buddy Barry. All right. So thanks.
Oh, hey, I had one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I love you, Gary.
I love you too, brother. I love you too, brother.
That brotherly love there.
Well, you know what? And if anybody meets Barry, loves Barry, but I've had more time than a lot of people with Barry. Him and I hang out together every time we get together. We make sure we spend some time. And I'm always excited to come back home and do more good work in my own business after Barry shares all the cool stuff he's doing.
Yeah.
So thanks for being my friend.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Barry. And we'll see you all next time on Ditch Diggers CEO.
See ya.
Yeah, baby.